Hi, my name is Allie, and I am from British Columbia, Canada. And the story that I'd like to share with you today is how an unexpected vacation situationship with a resort worker from Mexico turned into a long-distance relationship, turned into revenge porn, death threats, and a complete career change for me. I am a coach. I host 2 podcasts now, and I'm excited to share my story with you.
Yes, I'm excited to hear it. This is crazy.
Alrighty,
It's
you ready?
insane. Yes, I'm ready. Where does it begin?
We are insane.
Yes.
So it started in January 2022. So my birthday is early January, exactly 2 weeks after Christmas, 1 week after New Year's. So I often travel alone for my birthday just because everybody's partied out by the time that, my birthday comes around. So January 2022, I decided to go to Mexico. So I picked just a random all-inclusive resort with the sole purpose of being by myself. It was the first sort of birthday trip that I'd gone on because it's still kind of COVID times. And my mom actually died at Christmas 2019. So it's the first one that I was going on. So I just really wanted to go all out and have a great time by myself. So that all went to plan for the first 24 hours. And then the second day I could feel one of the resort workers trying to get my attention, sort of like in a playful, flirty way. And I was trying to be polite, but also trying to avoid him. I was in the pool bar and he was involved with the entertainment. So I assumed he was just trying to get my attention to, do Zumba or salsa making or whatever. Anyway, I'm not very good at ignoring people. So, I humored him and we had a little bit of a small conversation. And then the weather changed and we needed to get out of the pool. So I said my goodbye to him and I found somewhere else to go, the resort, which is, there's not too many places that you go at a resort that don't involve drinking. So I went to a bar and I sat as far away from everybody as I could because I just wanted to be alone. And it didn't take too long before I could sense a presence. And the guy from the pool kind of came up and was waving at me. And I was just like, okay, hi, nice to see you. And so we get into a little bit of a small conversation again. And I don't really want to have it, but I don't know what to do. It's innocent enough. He's asking me if I'm here by myself and he makes some comments, tells me I'm beautiful.
And he worked there.
He worked there.
Okay.
And so part of me is like, this is his job. He sees a woman sitting by herself and he just needs to be friendly. Like, okay, like, thank you for being friendly, but go be friendly with somebody else. Like, I've had enough of the conversation.
Yeah.
But he kept talking and so I started to get to know a little bit about him. He had this massive Roman numeral tattoo on his arm. So I said, like, hey, tell me about your tattoo. And he had shared that it was his wedding date. So I was like, okay, good. This guy's married. He'll leave me alone. And then he told me a sad story of how he was no longer married because his wife had cheated on him. She was an American and she cheated on him and he was really heartbroken over that. So immediately he got me with sympathy. And so we were chatting and I shared with him that, I have a number of tattoos on me that all signify something monumental,
right?
Monumental, something
Important.
something big in my life.
Yes.
And so I like to document it. So we had a nice little bonding moment and then he was off. I said, okay, nice chatting. See you later. Thinking like, see you around. We don't need to talk again. He just kept popping back up. Like everywhere I turned around, he kept popping up. So each conversation throughout the day just kept getting more and more personal. And eventually he said to me, hey, tomorrow's my day off. Would you be willing to be my date? I'm like, your date? What are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, I wondered if you wanted to go. So I met him in the Mayan Riviera. would you be willing to go to Playa del Carmen with me, where like all the shops and the restaurants are? And my inside is saying, absolutely not. But my outside, polite Canadian face is saying, how do I get out of this? So I just sort of smile and say, I'll think about it. I'm not planning to leave the resort, but I'll let you know. Well, he was so relentless. He just wouldn't leave me alone. He, at another point, sort of corners me, asks for my phone number. And so I panic. Like, what do you do when somebody right across from you says, what's your phone number? Like, I could have given him a fake number, but I got to see the guy all week, right? So give him my phone number. And I thought, well, I can just block him after the week's over. Anyway, so, we have more and more interactions. As soon as he gets my phone number, he starts texting me. He's flirting with me, like this sort of sexually aggressive flirty. And I'm grossed out. Like, I'm not attracted to him at all, but also like I'm panicking. I don't know what to do. As the night progresses, we're texting more and more. He invites me to go to the evening show. He's the MC of the show because he's the manager of the entertainers. And he's texting me throughout the show, telling me how beautiful I am and how he was so scared to approach me and he couldn't wait to spend tomorrow with me. It was going to be so much fun. And so I'm kind of like this mix of like flattered, creeped out, and sort of buzzed because I've been drinking. So I just sort of went along with it. I accepted the compliments. When the show was over, I went back to my room and went to bed, was planning to go to bed. And he texted me, he's like, where did you go? I thought maybe we could go for a walk on the beach. And it's like midnight. I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I know exactly what you want. Like, no, I'm going to bed. Anyway, so I have not committed to hanging out with him tomorrow, but I've also not been super clear in saying I'm not doing it.
Right,
just
like not
sort of
full on denied him.
Yeah, but inside I'm like, you're not going. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so the next day, it's early afternoon and I haven't heard from him. And I'm thinking, great, he's found somebody else. Like, I'm off the hook. And it's just as I think that, of course, I get a text from him saying, hey, what time are we meeting up today? I'm just like, I really didn't handle that. So then I kind of did this like pro-con list in my head. And I'm like, well, it might be kind of fun. He seems like a really nice guy. He's shared a lot about his life. He's got a lot of women in his life. He's got a mom, 2 sisters, nieces. He seems like a really nice guy. And I'm a really nice person. So maybe he's just a nice guy that's going to show me around. So I ultimately agreed to meet up with him. I thought that we would meet in Playa del Carmen because there was a shuttle at the resort that I would just meet him somewhere. And when I suggested that, he said, well, hey, why don't you just meet me at my house? I'm like, what are you doing? This is how you're going to get murdered. But he convinced me that it was probably safer to meet that way because, how are we going to find each other in the busy streets of Playa del Carmen? So anyway, so I get in the cab and I find the place that he's sent me. And I text him a message saying, hey, I think I'm here. Like, hurry up and come down. So he says, should I come down naked? And I'm immediately like, fuck.
Right.
This is so gross. Like, this is exactly what you thought was going to happen. Like, why are you here? Anyway, and it's not what I wanted to happen. True. Like, I should clarify. I did not want to do anything with this guy other than
Yeah, like you weren't going into it thinking, I want to have sex with him.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I really was not attracted to him at all. I was just thinking, YOLO, it's an opportunity to go with a local.
And you're by yourself. So it's like, who else are you going to hang with?
Exactly. So, and I really like tacos. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to have some authentic tacos. Anyway, so he says, should I come down naked? And I'm like, I write back, haha, very funny. Hurry up and come down. Like, gross, dude. So he comes down. He's got his clothes on, thankfully. But he says to me, I'm not ready yet. You got to come upstairs. I still have some things that I need to do. So I reluctantly go up to his place, and it's actually quite a cute studio apartment. But when I look inside, there's not a lot of options in a studio apartment for where to sit. There's basically a bed that takes up the entire room, a kitchen I could stand in, or a bathroom. Of course, he's like ushering me to come sit on the bed. So I find like a little corner piece that I can sit on. And we start having, small conversation, and it sort of fluctuates between him just being a really nice, sweet, soft-spoken, safe guy. I would say that was probably like 80% that, to like waves of like just aggressive and sexual gross. So I had packed some roadies with me because this was going to be an awkward situation. So I was drinking a beer. He was drinking, I don't know, a cooler or something. And so to deal with the awkwardness, I kind of chugged my beer, and he started inching closer and closer to me. And, at some point I was like, well, clearly this is what he wants to happen. So this is what we're doing, I guess. I had been in a really short relationship with somebody prior to going on this trip, and then he just ghosted me on New Year's Eve. And so I was feeling a little bit heartbroken. I wouldn't say I was outwardly showing it, so I don't think this guy like picked up on it, but I was feeling a little bit heartbroken. This guy's coming on to me. I'm buzzed, and I'm thinking, well, fuck it. Mm-hmm. I assume you've probably heard the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else.
Yeah.
It's not something that I really subscribe to, but I was like, well, whatever. I'm in Mexico. Who cares? Yeah. I'm single. I'm an adult. Something
I want to mention too, just because I know that people always have their ways of, opinions and twisting things. But, I think this is just something I want to say to you and to those listening. Mm-hmm. Because I can already imagine. But, and I think it's important to share that, I think it's very easy to listen to a situation like this, like up to where it is now, and think to yourself, well, why didn't she just say no? Or why did she go if she wasn't attracted to him? Or why did she start doing stuff if she wasn't into him? But at the same time, when you add all of these things together, which they're not excuses, it's just your reality at the time. Mm-hmm. It's like you're on vacation alone, drinking's involved, you're by yourself, and you have somebody that's giving you attention. Yeah, maybe there's some girls that like don't really care for attention, don't like it, but like even for me, it's like attention feels good. People like it. It is flattering, and once again, not an excuse, but I just feel like in a way for this guy, all your cards were like perfectly aligned for him. It was like you were almost like this perfect
target.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Like, and I don't think people always realize that aspect of things, because I think that, listening to something and having the time to articulate what to do and not actually being in that moment is two very different things. So I just wanted to point that out.
I really appreciate you doing that, actually, because I should also stop here and say, I recognize that the first half of my story is all red flags. It's super cringy. Everybody has an opinion, and they don't think they would ever find themselves in these situations. You don't know until you're in it. Much like you just said, this is not an excuse. We will get there eventually, but this guy was a master manipulator. Mm-hmm. I'm not a naive little girl. I make good decisions in life. This is a moment that turned into a complete nightmare. And so I know early on people really hate my story because it's like, it's my fault. Like I should never have found myself in it. But here we are. Mm-hmm. So we end up hooking up, whatever. It was over just as fast as it started. It was nothing special. We then went off and we got some tacos on Fifth Ave. We laughed. We had fun. He was really easy to talk to. We learned a bit more about each other, and everything was easy. It was whatever. In that time together, somehow our age came up, and I found out that he was 9 years younger than me. And so I was immediately grossed out. But at the same time, I was like, what does it matter? I'm never going to talk to this guy again. And he approached me, and I don't really identify or necessarily look what my age is. So whatever. That'll come into play later. Anyway, so we end up having a really great time together. We part ways in the evening. I go back to the hotel. He goes back to his place. And I reflect on the time together, and it actually was pretty fun. And I thought, well, I didn't die. So, it was fun. Mm-hmm. Then, the rest of the week became a bit more exciting because I had this new friend at the resort that, of course, nobody knew about because staff and guests aren't allowed to mingle for obvious reasons. So we would have, various interactions, whether we'd run into each other or he'd be texting me or whatever. But it was very playful and getting to know each other a little bit more, building on a friendship. I ended up going back to his place a few more times. And it was, I think after the first time, I don't know if you experienced this. I know I'm not the only person, but after you are intimate with somebody and you spend some time together, you do start to find them a little bit more attractive.
Absolutely. They grow on you.
I
mean, especially if someone is easy to talk to and get along with, I think, and I mean, having sex with someone, I think that even if you are somebody that can just do that and move on, it does create a different type of attachment. Connection, for sure.
Yeah. And just to again, I'm not making excuses, but to paint the scene, he's like the manager of the entertainers. He knows how to be charming. Mm-hmm. He knows how to be fun and flirty, and it's contagious. And I'll also say that I was very aware that I am probably not the only girl. That it's a plenty of opportunity. It could be a new girl every day, every week, every whatever.
Right.
But I was
this just week you was you.
Yeah, and it was fun, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so we had a fun week, mm-hmm. and when it's time to say goodbye, we hugged goodbye, and I was surprised at how difficult it was to say goodbye. We both kind of got a little choked up, and when I got on my bus to go to the airport, I had a little tear in my eye, and I was like, what the fuck just happened? I went from wanting to be left alone, not wanting to talk to this guy, to sleeping with him, to all of a sudden
crying when you're sleeping.
Yeah. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
I was like, well, you know what? What happens on vacation stays on vacation. It's going to be okay. You're a grown-ass adult. You can do this. Anyway, so I fly back to Canada. I, again, fully expect to never hear from this guy again. And as soon as I land, my phone blows up. He'd been texting me the whole time that I was in transit. And, essentially it was, I miss you so much. I'm so glad that we got to meet each other. You're so beautiful. I had so much fun. At the time, it felt great. It felt nice. Standing back here, it's classic love bombing. But so we continued to talk a little bit. I thought we were just going to be friends because he's in Mexico and I'm in Western Canada. We're nowhere near each other. And also there's no point. But we continued to talk and build a friendship, and a relationship blossomed. And I know what I'm about to say next is going to sound ridiculous, but next thing you know, he's calling me babe. And the next thing you know, we're in a relationship. And so...
And how long was that?
A couple weeks. It was intense, texting every day.
Well, once again, another thing, every single person is so different. I personally am somebody that if I like you the first time hanging out with you, I'm all in. Mm-hmm. That's me. That's my personality.
Yeah.
I have friends that are that is insane. That is too much too soon. Mm-hmm. You need to wait months before you date somebody. so many people are different. So like, yes, looking back, it might be like, wow, that was so fast. That was too much. That was crazy. But like, if that is the type of person you are and you are like, you want that relationship, or that, and even if you don't think you do, and then it happens and it's in front of you, I'm like never somebody that's like, oh my God, it was too fast. Like there's like no such thing as like too fast. Like, what happens.
I agree. And I sort of struggle with the term love bombing because when I feel something genuinely, even if it's early on, it really is genuine. And so I think when you are programmed as a good person, an honest person, not a naive person, but you believe others are capable of being like you, right? And so I believed him. And so again, trust me, looking back now, it's classic, but it happened. And so I had to talk myself into the idea of being in a long distance relationship with somebody. How would I even do this? How would I explain it to my friends? This is not my norm. I had to convince myself before I would even talk to anybody in my life about it because I knew what the objections would be. But anyway, things got hot and heavy pretty quickly and start planning a return trip back to Mexico a couple months later. By the time we're planning the return trip to Mexico, he's telling me he would love to have a family with me. And he's telling me that, all of the things that I would like to hear. And at the time when I met him, so I was in my early 40s. And so that birthday in particular was sort of challenging for me because I had this moment that I didn't share with him or anybody, but I always wanted to be a mom and I hadn't until that point. And so it's like, I'm just not going to have the opportunity. And then there's this guy from Mexico of all places who's like obsessed with me. And he's telling me he wants to have a baby with me. So I'm just like, well, maybe this is a sign.
Yeah, this is it.
Maybe my mom's doing some work on the other side. Who knows? I know it's ridiculous. Anyway, so I went with it. But also being early 40s, my clock is ticking. I don't have much time. Like it's running out of batteries. Yeah. So we plan a trip back pretty quickly. I'll sort of like skim over these details because it followed a similar pattern. Okay. Other than he wasn't as available as I had expected.
Now, when you planned the trip to go back, were you going to be staying with him?
See, one would think that. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because obviously I would want to stay with my boyfriend.
Right.
Who's calling me babe and I'm calling babe.
Who wants to start a family.
Yeah. And how do you make a baby? You got to be in. Yeah. So I expected to stay together. Yeah. And he said, actually, I'm going to be working a lot. It just doesn't make sense. You should just stay at the resort because I'm going to be there all the time. And then you can still come back and sleep at my place. I'm like, okay, but like this is expensive. Not only is it expensive to stay at the resort, but the taxi rides back and forth were expensive. And anyway, so I did end up booking a room at the resort. And that's sort of when the excuses started to happen with him. I got there and he told me that the owners of the resort were there that week and he wouldn't be able to see me as much as he wanted and he's really bummed. But he was just letting me know he'd be working longer hours. And I was just kind of like, that seems fishy, but okay, maybe it's real. And like, I have a big job. I know what it means to have to put in extra hours. So I just, was trying to be easygoing. I should also share that up until that point, I really didn't have a great track record with relationships. I've been in abusive relationships. I've been ghosted a lot. I've been thrown away. And so I learned that I learned to be small and not to say much because I'm thrown away if I speak up too loudly. And I know that sounds so stupid, but that was me then. So I just wanted to be easy-go-lucky girl.
Yeah.
And so I was super accommodating. I would say in the 7 days I was there, I might have seen him 3 times. And I'm like, this is really bizarre, but he always had a reason for it. When I left that week together, he had shared with me that he had always wanted to work on a cruise line, and he had actually been offered a job, but he was scared to tell me. And he really wanted to take a 7-month contract so that he could make all kinds of money. And then once that contract was up, he would come and live with me in Canada, and we would start our family. And I obviously wasn't thrilled by the news, because I thought we were working towards him coming to Canada and us starting a family much faster than that, given my age. But he shared that he had always wanted to work on a cruise, but anytime in the past he'd had the opportunity, he was with a woman who got in the way and held him back. And I was just like, well, I don't want to be the person that's going to get in the way of your dreams. Like, I wouldn't want that. And like, how resentful would he be? So I reluctantly was supportive and agreed, because I didn't have much choice. So he takes the job on the cruise, and about a month or so before he's set to go on the cruise, I start sort of nudging him that maybe he wants to quit the resort a little bit early so that he can go and spend some time with his family, because his mom, his sisters, his nieces, his grandparents are super important to him, and they live in central Mexico. So he's located in the Mayan Riviera, Cancun area, but they're in central Mexico. And so I'm really trying to be like supportive of this, because him being on the cruise for 7 months would be a long time not to see them. But I'm also sort of suggesting he end his job at the resort earlier so that we have an opportunity to see each other. Ideally, I can go and meet his family, because, you know, he would tell me all the time that they knew all about me. And he was particularly close with his mom. And so I was always asking about that and if she was bothered by my age. And he always said she knew all about me and she wasn't bothered at all. She knew if he thought I was a good person, that I was a good person. So anyway, he agrees to leave the resort 2 weeks early. And so he's telling me what his last day is. He's like getting ready to pack up his apartment, the studio apartment. And so I start asking him what the flight details are. And he says, oh, well, actually, I haven't booked my flights yet. I'm like, what do you mean you haven't booked your flights yet? Like, you're leaving. You're giving your keys back. He's like, well, I don't have the money for my flights. I was like, oh. Well, can you ask your mom? Can you ask your grandpa? Can you ask someone? He's like, no, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I'll figure it out. It ultimately ended up being a situation where, in a roundabout way, I felt like I had no choice but to help him financially. We'd come across a few situations like this leading up to this point, not because I wanted to loan the money necessarily, but because he had such a compelling, manipulative way of making me feel like I had to, but like he had no other option, and that he would pay me back. It was a loan. And I came from this place of, we're together. We're gonna plan a future together. All for one, one for all. Like, of course, I can loan him some money, and he's gonna work on this cruise and he's gonna pay me back. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I send him money to book his flight. The day that he's flying from Cancun to central Mexico, I have an idea of what his itinerary is, and I know that it's not a direct flight. He has to fly from Cancun to Mexico City, quick layover, then he goes on to where his family lives. When he should have been on his way from Mexico City to where his family is, I get a panicked video call from him saying that he's missed his flight, and he's like all teary and he doesn't know what he's going to do. And I was like, well, why are you calling me? Like, go talk to the people at the gate. they'll help you.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells me that he's talked to them and there's nothing that they can do. He needs to buy a new flight. I'm like, well, can you ask your mom? Can you ask your grandpa? Can you ask somebody? No. I'm like, well, okay, it's only 4 hours from Mexico City. Could they drive? Like my parents would have driven. Nope, they can't do that. So again, it's sort of a situation where it was my choice to allow to be made to feel like I was put in a situation where I had to bail him out. But what do you do? So I booked him a flight from Mexico City to his final destination. And, oh, thank you so much. I love you so much. You're the best. My family is so grateful for you. Blah, blah, blah. So once he gets home, he settles in a little bit. So he's there for 2 weeks before he goes to work on the cruise. I say to him, like, is there any chance that I could come and see you? I would really love to see you before you go on the cruise, because while he's on the cruise, initially he said I'd be able to come visit, but it was still, I had a real job. Pretty hard to just be taking off on these thousands of dollars of vacation whenever. So I really wanted to see him for a weekend and meet his family.
I don't know about you, but oftentimes life just feels like I am constantly hustling. It feels like even when I complete things on my to-do list, there's just more waiting for me to get done. And as much as I love to stay busy, it can be very stressful in my body and literally feels like it is draining me. And come to find out, my body is actually literally being drained of magnesium, which is a mineral that is crucial for your energy, your focus, and even your sleep. So if you feel like you've been lacking in any of those categories, maybe your stress levels are high and your magnesium is low. This is actually called the stress magnesium deficiency cycle. So basically your stress goes up, your magnesium goes down, you feel like you don't really have any productivity, you're not sleeping well, your focus just isn't there, your energy is drained, and then ultimately the cycle continues to repeat. So obviously the next question is, how do we break this cycle? And for me, it has been Magnesium Breakthrough by Bioptimizers. It is the only supplement that has all 7 forms of magnesium that your body needs, and in turn it helps calm your nervous system, boost your energy, and my favorite of all, it supports better sleep. There is nothing worse than not getting a full night's sleep. And the best part is Bioptimizers is totally risk-free. They give you a 365-day money-back guarantee. So if it doesn't work for you, no harm done. And if it does, then you've just broken the stress magnesium deficiency cycle. For an exclusive offer, go to bioptimizers.com/insane and use promo code INSANE during checkout to save 15%. That is code INSANE at bioptimizers.com/insane. One of my absolute favorite ways to wind down is to go into my library room and read one of my books on my reading chair, cuddled up with a super soft blanket. And if you know me, then you know that I have a crazy blanket obsession. I love to get new blankets, try new blankets. And for the longest time, one of my very close friends has been trying to get me on the Lola bandwagon. And let me tell you that months ago, I ordered my first Lola blanket, and it is so cozy, so soft, and so worth it, because so many times I have gotten blankets in the past, and after 1 or 2 washes, they start to pill up, they're not as soft, and that is not the case at all. You can pick from so many different perfect sizes. In my reading room, I think it's maybe the smallest size that they have, just because it's a smaller chair and it's just me in there. But on my couch, I just ordered their extra large size. And I swear to you, I was shocked with how big this blanket is. Not only is it good for like you and another person, but it's like good enough for me, another person, and all 8 of my animals. It is huge. My dog is actually currently laying in her Lola bed right now. She is obsessed. Everything is so soft. It is amazing quality. It has this like stretch to it that just makes it so cozy. When you cuddle up, it is the best feeling. And I swear sometimes I actually struggle to stay awake when I'm reading, because I am just that comfortable. For a limited time, our listeners are getting a huge 35% off their entire order at lolablankets.com by using code INSANE at checkout. Just head to lolablankets.com and use code INSANE for 35% off. And after your purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them, so please make sure to mention We're all insane. Tell them I sent you and wrap yourself up in a luxury Lola blanket. I feel like something that I always mention to you guys is how important balance is to me. And sometimes, as I'm sure you guys can relate and know, when stress piles up, it just feels like everything is off. Your sleep is off, your focus is off, your energy just isn't there, and you don't feel like you are productive overall like you want to be. So I wanted to share my newest secret with you guys, which is the bestseller bundle by Cured Nutrition, which has been giving me support both day and night. You may be wondering how they are supporting me both day and night. That being said, during the day, I am always reaching for their Serenity gummies. My favorite flavor, which tastes so good, is the passion fruit and clementine. They're packed with amazing ingredients, which I'm sure you guys have heard of some of these, like ashwagandha and CBD. And these gummies genuinely allow me to show up the way that I want to show up. And they keep me feeling calm and balanced. And then I don't have to lean on things like sugar or energy drinks to keep me where I want to be and just feel leveled out and perfect and amazing during my days. And then at nighttime, I am winding down with the CBN night caps, which combines CBD and CBN, which allows your body to calm down, wind down. It allows you to get to sleep faster, easier, and actually stay asleep and then wake up refreshed. So if you are somebody that is looking for more peace during the day and a deeper rest at night, then I personally cannot recommend the bestseller bundle from Cured Nutrition enough. It is absolutely amazing, and it has been the perfect daytime nighttime combination for me. The bestseller bundle is already discounted 10% off, plus the code stacks an additional 20% off. So you can stack my 20% off code INSANE on the 10% off bestseller bundle. Just go to curednutrition.com/insane and use my code INSANE to save a total of 30% off the bestseller bundle. Okay, so I just moved into a new house, and if any of you have moved before, then I am sure you can relate to all the new fumes, the smells, whether it's new paint, new furniture, chemical fumes. If you're moving into an older house, maybe it's some dusty air vents. Overall, we just don't know what we're breathing in, and that's why I decided to get Jasper. And let me just tell you, I am literally obsessed. And this is not just some cute air purifier that I got for my house. This is a medical grade air scrubber, which means it is not just filtering the air, it is actually scrubbing it clean. So anything like smoke, mold spores, VOCs, chemical fumes, all gone. It is scrubbing it clean, and now we can breathe some fresh air. And as you guys have seen, and I talk about them literally all the time, I have many animals in my home. So it actually makes me feel a lot more comfortable and safer knowing that the air I'm breathing in is clean and safe for not only me, but also my amazing fur babies. So that being said, if you want to try Jasper, they actually gave me a code for $300 off. All you have to do is use code INSANE at jasper.co. That is insane, INSANE, at jasper, JASPR.co for $300 off. And I promise you, you will not regret it. Your air will be scrubbed clean, fresh, filtered, and you will feel a lot more safer and comfortable in your environment too. And now back to the episode.
And he told me that, he really wanted to see me, but unfortunately he was going to have to drive his grandfather, who was more like a father to him, had to drive him to Guadalajara for a family reunion because it might be the last time he would see his family because his grandfather was pretty old. And I was like, well, is there any way that I could come see you there? And he's like, oh, I really wish, but I don't think it's going to work out. I'm like, okay, well, that's a bummer. That really sucks. I missed a part where leading up to him going on the cruise, he discovers that he needs a new computer and for some training or whatever. And, I said, like, why do you need a computer for this training? Why can't you do it on your iPad or whatever? He's like, no, everybody in the group chat for the cruise is saying that it won't work. You have to have a computer. So we go through the whole list of people. Can mom help? Grandpa help? Anybody help? No. So I say, can you buy a really cheap computer just to get you through? He's like, no, I need a MacBook Pro. It's got to be this, and I'll figure it out. I'm sure by now you can figure out what happened. He ends up convincing me to loan him money. He's going to start paying me as soon as he gets paid on the cruise ship for this MacBook Pro. So The reason I'm bringing this up is he sent me a proud picture of his MacBook Pro that I had sent him the money for on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. May 5th, 2022, he's the proud new owner of a laptop, and then he's heading off to Guadalajara. He can't be with me because he's going to be with his family. Okay, I'll come back to that because it's a pretty important date. Anyway, so he goes and he works on the cruise, and essentially it was a really challenging time to be in a long distance relationship. I tried to end things with him before the cruise started, at various points on the cruise.
So you were with him that full 7 months?
I was with him for a year.
Wow. Okay. And it was mainly all long distance?
Mainly, like 90%. Yes. Okay. All like, but, you know, and I know it sounds so stupid, but the emotional connection that can be built over just text itself. And, you know, so he's working on the cruise, and like at various points there's bumps in the road. You know, of course, communication is a challenge. There are times where we get in arguments, but then there's times where, you know, you make up. And so he asks for videos and pictures, and he sends them to me, whether I'm asking for them. And so whether I'm asking for them or not, let me be clear, I didn't ask for them. Because I guess that's how else are you supposed to maintain an intimate connection with somebody in a long distance relationship? Anyway, so he goes and he works on the cruise for the 7 months. The plan all along was going to be, once he's done, he's going to come to Canada. We're going to start our family. His cruise contract was to end early December 2022. I would say it was about mid-November. We had sort of been fighting about some things, and he shared with me that his grandfather died. He was devastated that his grandpa died, and he was just really, really sad, and he didn't want to talk to me about it, but I should know. And I said that, you know, I felt really terrible for him. I knew how close he was, and I had, like I shared, had lost my mom. And so my first response was, let's get you off the boat. Like, you don't need to be there. Yeah. Go home. He's like, no, I'll be fine. I just have to keep my head in the game, but I'm probably not going to want to talk to you for a little bit. Okay. I was like, okay. But like, I know that when I'm hurting, I pull my person in instead of push them out. But anyway. So then, I don't know, a week or so later, he then tells me that the MacBook Pro somehow fell out of his bag and shattered everywhere, and it was garbage. This is almost at the end of his cruise. He has not sent me a penny for it from any of his paychecks. And I said, well, clearly your mind is not in the right place. If you're grieving your grandpa, that's what happened with the laptop. It has to be, you know, you're not thinking. Let's get you off the ship. No, I'm going to stay. I need to be here. Like, okay, whatever. Then, I don't know. I can't remember if it was exactly 2 weeks later, but we're getting close to the end of his contract. All of a sudden, grandma dies. And I'm like, wow, this is bizarre. So I do a little Googling. I'm a researcher, and so I like to Google. I like to fact check some things. And so I just started Googling. Sometimes you do hear about relationships where, you know, couples that have been together, they die of a broken heart. And so one dies and then the other one dies quickly. But something just inside my gut was saying, this seems a little off. So I started Googling like funeral homes, looking for obituaries. I started looking at his mom's Facebook. She had an open profile. I was just curious to see if anything was posted about her parents dying.
Now I have a quick question.
Yeah.
When you and him were dating, I guess like times that you were seeing him.
Mm-hmm.
Did he ever, like, did you ever have a conversation with his mom at all? No. Okay, so it was only ever him and you.
Yeah.
And he would just kind of, like, tell you what they were saying.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And in fact, there were times that we would be FaceTiming and he would be like, oh, I got to go. My mom's calling. I'll call you back after. And I remember, like, we had a 2-hour time difference.
Yeah.
He was 2 hours ahead of me. So it was like late at night and his mom is FaceTiming. And I just remember thinking, like, that's weird.
Right.
But I was like, well, he works late hours. I don't know. Maybe she does too. Maybe this is just the schedule that they work around. But I remember thinking that was really weird. And of course, he never FaceTimed me back. So, but I just let it go because I'm being honest. I'm being so honest and so transparent. Yeah. Why am I thinking he's not? Anyway, so now we've got dead grandpa, dead grandma, a shattered laptop, and it's a couple weeks before the contract's ending, and I'm scared to bring it up, but like, I want to know, when am I going to see him? Because this whole time I've been counting down the weeks to when he's coming to Canada. So I sort of, delicately ask him what his plans are when the cruise contract is up early December. And he's like, well, I have to go home. I got to go deal with my grandparents' estate and stuff. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I could come spend Christmas with you. No, I'm going to be really, really busy. I'm like, okay. Well, when can I see you? Because as you know, based on when we met last year, I always travel for my birthday. So, and that would be our 1-year anniversary. So I'd really like to plan something for that week. And he's like, well, I'm probably not going to be able to see you until the 3rd week of January. So if it can wait till then. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, I have been waiting this whole time. Why don't you want to see me? And like, why don't you want me to be there for you while you're grieving your family? But anyway, so not one to really say that out loud. I did a lot of thinking, processing inside, and I thought to myself, if he doesn't make an effort to see me, obviously this is over. Like, I've wasted enough time. I've invested enough time and money in this relationship. So I was at this point where I'm like too far in to get back out. Yeah. I didn't want to give up on the dream that he had fed me. Yeah. Like, I believed it. I wanted it. So, but I really needed to make a decision. Do I book a trip to Mexico for the dates that I want to go, tell him where I'm going, and if he can arrange to be there, great. Do I say fuck it and book a trip somewhere else that I'd really wanted to go, because Mexico really isn't one of my favorite places? But if I do that, then that's a clear decision that I've ended this relationship. Or do I work around his dates? What I ended up deciding was I'm going to book the trip for the date that works for me. So, and I'm going to book it. I chose to book a trip from January 5th to 9th, 2023, in Cabo, because I knew he loved Cabo and I'd never been there. So I just thought, I'm going to book this. If things change and he's available and he can come meet me for part of it, then great. I'm in Mexico. All he has to do is meet me.
And how far was that distance from where he was going to be?
Well, so he was living in central Mexico. So it would still have been a flight, but like, I don't know, maybe an hour or two. It would have been close. Well, I'm going to say it'd be closer, but it probably the same as if I'd gone to Cancun. But Cabo was just way closer for me and a place I hadn't been before. And he had talked about so much. So I share with him that I've booked a trip to Cabo. I give him my flight details. I give him the condo the Airbnb that I've booked. And I say, if you are able to come, here's where I'll be. I'd love to see you. No pressure, but I'd love to see you. He's immediately pissed at me. He's like, why would you book Cabo? There's way better places in Mexico. If you'd picked Puerto Vallarta, I'd be able to come and see you. I could drive there, but absolutely not. There's no chance I'm coming to Cabo. I was like, okay. Well, okay. So I sat on it for a little bit and I decided to adjust my trip. Instead, I did 4 days in Cabo and then 4 days I moved to Puerto Vallarta. So I shared the new itinerary with him and I said, if you can, I'll be in Cabo on these dates. If you can make it for these dates, here's where I'll be. Okay, I'll meet you in Cabo, but I can't meet you before then. I think I got the dates wrong. I was there for 8 days in Mexico. The dates don't really matter at this point. Anyway, so this is before he gets home. So he gets home from the cruise early December. One of the first things he does is he sends me like a mostly naked selfie in the mirror at his mom's house, unsolicited. Letting me know he's home. I'm asking how things are going, with family. And he said, oh, it's pretty tense. Everybody's fighting. Things aren't good. I won't be able to talk to you very much. I'm like, okay, well, I'll try and give you space. So I think it was New Year's Eve. He texts me. He's asking me what I'm up to and, whatever. We're just talking about regular things. And I said, are you still thinking you're going to be able to come to Puerto Vallarta to see me? And he says, yes, for sure. I'll meet you in Puerto Vallarta. I definitely can't meet you in Cabo. And if you stop asking me about it, I'll meet you in Puerto Vallarta. Like, okay, cool. Message loud and clear. I had to leave where I was living a day before I was arriving in Mexico because I didn't have a direct flight. So the night that I'm leaving to go to Vancouver to spend the night before I fly off to Cabo, I get a text from him asking me what I'm doing. And I say, oh, I'm just at the airport. I'm heading to Vancouver. He's like, oh, I thought you were coming tomorrow. Like, what's going on? I'm like, I am. I just don't have a direct flight. And he seemed really sort of bizarre. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I got to go. My mom was just in a car accident. She's in the hospital. I got to go. And I was like, oh my God, is she going to be okay? Yeah, she's just going to be in the hospital for a few days. So I do a little bit of research and I see that his mom had tagged herself in Facebook as traveling from where they live to Cabo a day or two earlier. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. So I ask a few more clarifying questions about the car accident. And I say, like, where did it happen? Like the town that you live in? He's like, yeah, it happened there. And I was like, oh, is she going to be okay? So I'm like, I'm not going to tell him that I know his mom's in Cabo, but I've created this story now that he's going to surprise me in Cabo. He's going to surprise me. I'm going to meet his mom. They're all coming to Cabo. And it's going to be this great reunion.
Because what else could it be? There's no way that he's lying about all of this.
That's right. Yeah. Like, of course, there's like moments in your gut where like certain things don't add up.
Yeah,
like
but of
deaths,
course you think you want to hope for the best,
Totally. So anyway, so we say goodnight. He's off to go take care of mom in the hospital and I have an early flight out the next day. So the next day comes. It's January 5th, 2023. I travel from Vancouver to Cabo, completely thinking he's either going to be at the airport waiting for me or he's going to be at my hotel. When I land, the airport's insane in January. So I do a quick scan. I don't see him. So then I go and I wait for my shuttle to my hotel. And I haven't heard from him all day. Mm-hmm. So I decide to go to Facebook and I see that he has been tagged in a post congratulating him on his wedding. It's a picture of him in a suit and this beautiful woman in a white dress under an arch. and her name is tagged and other people are tagged. And I'm just, it doesn't make sense. So I like, when like you're tagged in something on Facebook, I think it's like a blue font. It's like a link. Mm-hmm. So I clicked on it. It was his name. I clicked on it, but I didn't go anywhere because I was on his page. I'm like, what the this just makes sense. So I click on her and I go to another profile and I click on the other name. Like, it's all working, right? So like when I see this post, I'm in my shuttle on the way to my hotel. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but like everything goes black and it's spinny and sparkly and like your ears are ringing. And it was just like this out of body experience. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I send him a text and I'm like,
congrats.
Did you get married today? And of course, he was busy. He couldn't respond for a bit, but eventually he comes back and says to me, no, what are you talking about? So I send a screenshot and then he's like, that's just like you to believe whatever you'd see on the internet, blah, blah, blah. Gaslighting at its finest. And so I may have sounded stupid up to this point, but I am not stupid. Yeah. So I was just like enraged. And so by the time I got to my hotel, I had sent a few texts to some key people in my life that knew why I was coming and knew all about him. My relationship was not a secret to anybody in my life. And so I got a number of responses because like I said, babe, because that's what I called him, babe got married today. And everybody's like, what the fuck? What do you mean? So then I'd sent the screenshot and I learned that he had gotten married basically while I was in the air flying there. So that means the reception was happening right now. And it turned out that he got married in Cabo at the resort 450 meters directly behind where I was staying. So I guess I missed a part that when he said he was going to come to Puerto Vallarta, I changed everything. I changed my reservation from the beautiful condo I had booked in Cabo, and I picked a less of like fancy hotel because it didn't matter. It's just me. And then I booked something nicer for Puerto Vallarta. Anyway, it turned out that his wedding reception was literally happening 450 meters directly behind my hotel. I had some really great friends who were doing some pretty fabulous research for me because I was in a state of shock and rage and all of the things. Yeah. And so the reason I know it was 450 meters is because I put it into Google. I'm like, where is this hotel? And then like 450 meters is really fucking close. So a lot of people were like, so what are you going to do? You going to go crash the wedding? And I was like, absolutely not. No, like right. No, because that's just going to make me look like a complete lunatic. There's no explanation other than I'm a crazy person, a crazy ex. I don't know what the bride and her family and his family are like. What would I be walking into? And I don't really want to go to jail in the first place, but certainly not Mexican jail. Yeah. So I decided not to crash the wedding, but I did go for a walk just to kind of have an idea of how far 450 meters was. And it was really close. And then I went on this like toxic cycle of like rage text him and then block him before he could respond, and then unblock and rage text and then block. And so essentially the texts were like, so I haven't gotten into many details, but he ended up owing me a fair amount of money that he never paid me for. So I rage text, did I pay for the wedding or did I pay for the ring? You know, we're 450 meters apart from each other. I sure hope I can meet your bride. Like all kinds of things. I'm so hurt. And I'm like, your grandpa didn't even die. Like all of it's bullshit.
So even the grandparents dying, both was a lie?
All a lie.
Okay.
So anyway, so there are little moments where he's responding and giving me more lies. But ultimately, I end up blocking him, shutting my phone off, and then like just laying in the fetal position at night and eventually falling asleep. And then like waking up and being so confused, like this is a bad dream. And then realizing, no, this is real life. So the next morning I turn my phone on, and before my Apple logo has fully even disappeared, my phone starts blowing up. And I'm getting these phone calls from this unknown number. And I don't answer unknown numbers at the best of times, but certainly not in Mexico. I'm not paying those roaming charges for a stranger. Anyway, it ends up that it's him because I've blocked him from texting me.
Right.
He can't do anything but call me, and you can't block an unknown number. So eventually I answer the phone, not realizing it's him. And he's like, please, let me explain. I got to talk to you. Please. And I'm like, if you want to talk to me, you can walk the 450 meters to my hotel and you can look me in the eye and tell me what the fuck's been going on. He's like, no, I can't. I'll talk to you in Puerto Vallarta. Like, dude, we are not going to Puerto Vallarta.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He does eventually tell me that he will meet me in the parking lot of my hotel. So he does. So it's, I don't even know the time anymore because it was all, as you might have guessed, a blur.
Right.
Call it 9:30 in the morning. He walks from his hotel and he approaches me. I'm sitting in my parking lot and his head's down and he's like walking like a little sad little puppy. And, you know, he's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, sorry? You're fucking sorry? That's the best you have? Like, you just married somebody. He's like...
And lied a million times.
A million times. I said, you're a fucking scammer. And he got so offended that I called him a scammer. I'm like, of all the things that I said to you last night, why are you so offended by me calling you a scammer? He's like, well, because I'm not one. I'm like, really, dude? You just lied to me for an entire year. You used me for money and you just married somebody? And so he then tries to tell me that we had actually broken up. He and I had broken up in July. He just forgot to mention that to me.
Right.
Now, things had been bumpy, true, but we had not broken up. Mm-hmm. And I had sent him stuff in July, and I shared that he sent me the mostly naked selfie in December. Like, these are not things we do when we're not together.
Yeah, or when you're planning on getting married to someone else completely.
Exactly. So I'm like, basically I'm asking about the person he married, and he claims that she was his best friend for 10 years and they just started dating. And I was like, hold on a minute. You're telling me you went from best friends to dating to married in the blink of an eye? He's like, well, yeah, when my grandpa died, we realized how precious life was. And so we decided to get married. And I was like, so you're telling me that from like November when grandpa died to January 5th, you dated and got married? It doesn't fucking make sense. And I'm like,
and wait, so did the grandfather die?
Okay. So he's adamant at that point
that the grandfather's dead.
Grandma and grandpa are dead. And
okay.
I say to him, and I know they're not dead. He's like, yes, they are. I'm like, they're not.
So he was sticking with that.
Oh, he was sticking to all his lies.
Okay.
And I'm like, I need to meet your wife because she's from Canada too.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got a type.
What are the odds? Was she blonde?
No.
Okay.
Actually, I'll give you a description of her in a second.
Okay.
I said, she needs to know.
Mm-hmm.
You owe me $9,000. And I want to talk to your mom because I want to know what the fuck's been going on.
Yeah. And
he's like, I'll pay you the money. I just need my grandparents' estate to come through and I'll pay you the money. But please don't tell her. Please, I'll tell her in my own time. Blah, blah, blah. So we leave it that he was with me, I think, for about an hour on the morning of his wedding. Morning after his wedding. And we leave it that he's going to talk to his mom and see if she'll meet me. Now, a lot of people ask me, why did you want to meet the mom? Because I wanted to know, nothing he was saying was true and was real. Yeah. So I felt like she's a mom. Yes, his mom, but like she would speak the truth. I was convinced that like she was the only way that I could know the truth, and she knew about me. So anyway, a few hours or maybe an hour later, I don't remember. It's really all a blur. I get a text from him saying, I told my mom, she's so mad at me, but she says she'll meet you. And then she starts texting me on his phone, and she's begging me not to tell the wife. But she'll meet me, she'll take me for lunch, whatever. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm here right now. Let's go. And she's like, oh, we can't meet you right now. We're actually leaving today. But I hear you're going to be in Puerto Vallarta on January 9th. So I thought I'd meet you there. And I was just like, I'm here right now. Like, let's do this.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was not in a good state, right? Clearly not thinking clearly, really hurt. So obviously anybody listening and looking in would recognize it's not his mom texting me. And there was part of me that sort of questioned that too, but I was just so broken that I just accepted it. And I said to her, I would rather that we text from your phone. I don't want anything to do with him. Can you please text me? Well, she never did. So I sent her a message on Facebook. And of course, she never opened it until I messaged him being like, interesting that your mom was messaging me, but she hasn't responded. And then I get a mysterious message back from her. So I'm led to believe that if I don't say anything to the wife, she's going to meet me in Puerto Vallarta and she's going to answer any of the questions that I have. So I felt deep in my core the wife needed to know. Not because I wanted them to break up. I could care less about that. But just, especially the fact that she's a fellow Canadian, I felt it was important she at least had the opportunity to know the truth.
Yeah, make a decision based on that.
But I also didn't know what kind of person she was, so I didn't want to be delivering this information in Mexico and in person and risk whatever. So I just hung tight and I waited for his mother. So January 9th comes. I fly to Puerto Vallarta. She does not meet me when she says she's going to meet me, and I'm strung along all day by him. And I make a really big mistake in showing him my cards. And I said, if I don't hear from your mom by 4:00, I'm messaging your wife. Anybody who's listening, don't tell them you're going to message the wife. So, of course, I didn't hear from his mom. So at 4:00, I sent his wife a message on Facebook, and I was able to do that because she had been tagged in the post. And so the message was something essentially like, there's no easy way to tell you this, but I just found out through this Facebook post that you married my boyfriend, and like we're both been with the same guy, and I'm actually in Mexico right now. And I just wanted you to know, and here's my phone number if you want to talk. And as I hit send on that, there was like these little gray letters that say this person doesn't accept messages from people that aren't their friends, right? I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? So the person that made the post was her mom. So I decided, okay, I'll send it to her. So essentially I sent the same message to the mom, gave my phone number, and hit send. Well, it didn't take that long for me to get a response from the bride. And it wasn't a very nice one. And essentially...
Did she call you or message you back?
Message on Facebook.
Okay. From her personal or the mom's?
Sorry, from the bride's message me from her Facebook. And
so she ended up seeing what you wrote also.
Or did she? So that's what I thought at the time.
Okay.
So I got this nasty message back being like, I know all about you. You're a desperate old woman.
Oh my God.
He's told me everything about you. We weren't dating at the same time. I don't want to know anything about you. He told me about all the money that he owes you, and that's between you guys. Like, basically, fuck off. You're a desperate old woman. Leave me alone. I was just like, whoa.
Right.
Message received loud and clear. So I blocked her, deleted her, went away. I then sent her mom a message saying, I just heard back from her. She apparently knows everything. I'm so sorry to have bothered you. And I then blocked the mom. So I don't even actually know if that message would have been received. But so I was already super fragile, but being told that I'm a desperate old woman, that like nobody cares about you, go fuck yourself, essentially, really, really cut deep. And I was
that on top of everything else. It's like, just kick me while I'm down.
Kick me while I'm down. And so my 8 days in Mexico were very, very dark. Like I seriously contemplated ending my life because I was just like, here's another person who just throws me away. Nobody cares about me. I'm a desperate old woman.
I think too, it's a very frustrating situation because when you reflect on it in that moment, you're probably like, I didn't even want him at first.
1,000%.
So how the fuck did I end up here? I think it's more so like you beat yourself up.
I was so mad at myself.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I really didn't even want to talk to him. And here I am going on this stupid journey with this guy.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, so I eventually get, maybe an hour or two later, I get a phone call from an area code that I know to be where her mom would live. Because in a weird turn of events, the province that the bride and her mom live in is the one that I grew up in.
Okay.
Not the same one I lived in then, but I knew the area. I knew exactly. So like, I'm not answering that phone call because again, I'm in Mexico. I'm not doing roaming charges. I've heard from her abundantly clear, wants nothing to do with me. So I don't answer. Well, she calls back again. I don't answer. But going back to the way this all started was, I don't want to be rude. So I send her mom a text back and I say, I heard back from your daughter. She's made it very clear that she knows what's going on and doesn't want to have anything to do with me. I'm so sorry to involve you. I'll leave you alone. So I send that text and I block her number. And I'm not good. Fast forward to the end of my trip, in this beautiful condo that I'm supposed to be with him. Supposed to be having a baby or practicing or getting pregnant or whatever. And it's just not what I had expected. All I want to do is not be around anymore. So as I'm getting out of the cab at the airport, I happen to get a text or a Facebook message from his mother. And it essentially says something like, you are a desperate old woman and nobody gives a shit about you. Megan's family is so fed up that you've been bothering them that if you don't stop harassing them, they're going to file a restraining order. And Megan actually is pregnant and you've caused her so much stress. She's been in the emergency room. So we'll send you the money that he owes you, but basically fuck off. Never talk to us again. And if I hear from you again, I won't be as nice. And I'm just like, so this is as I'm walking into the airport and I'm already so broken. Like I block her. I don't remember checking in for my flight. All I remember is going through security and taking a hard left and going to a bar and drinking. So I'm like, I need to numb this. This is so fucked up. And when I sat down, all I could do was think to write my will because I'm like, I can't do this anymore. But I knew I couldn't do that because my dad was actually quite broken after my mom died. Really sad, not himself. So I felt like I can't do that to him. So anyway, I get back home. Everybody at home knows about my trip. Many of them know how it went. And so, I go inward. I don't want to talk about it. I'm embarrassed. I'm hurt. I'm super depressed. And I'm patiently waiting for the amount of days that they claim it's going to take for this money to be sent to me. Thinking, once I get my $9,000, like, it's done. Fuck them. Whatever. I'm just a desperate old woman. I'll have a desperate life, but at least I'll have my $9,000 back. Well, naturally, the money doesn't show up. So I have to reach out to him. So we have a series of emails back and forth. And as you might guess, they're not overly friendly. And he tells me that he's lost everything. His family's all mad at him. His wife now knows about this and she's not talking to him, and he's never going to get to meet his child, and he hates me and I'm a horrible person. And he just found out actually that he has cancer, and so he doesn't want to talk to me. He just wants to live his remaining days in peace. I'm just like, fuck you. You don't have cancer.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you do, but like, you don't have cancer. Pay me the money.
Was she actually pregnant? No.
No.
She just lies about everything.
Literally everything is a lie.
But him and this woman were married at this point, and were they actually good friends for 10 years prior to that?
No.
Okay.
I know it all.
Okay.
I could give you a spoiler right now.
Give it.
She and I end up becoming besties. So he tells me he's got cancer and he's gonna get me the money, but basically leave me alone. And I say, I know you don't have cancer. Like, you're a disgusting human being. And actually at that time, which would have been 6 weeks after the wedding, my dad is diagnosed with terminal cancer. So I'm like, you're a horrible person to claim you have cancer when my dad actually, literally, was just diagnosed with terminal cancer. Like, go fuck yourself. So we go back and forth with toxic emails. Spoiler alert, to this day, I've never received payment. He still owes me $9,000. My dad, 6 weeks after he was diagnosed, he died. In the last 2 weeks of his life, I flew across the country to spend with him. And I was so hurt and bothered and upset about how I had been used and fucked over, and how nobody cared about me and my side of the story based on, the communication with the mother and the wife. And so I wasn't really able to be super present with my dad. Like, I was. He was sleeping 23 hours a day. He was falling. I was doing the things. But in the time that I wasn't focused on him, I was just focused on just feeling like I needed to send a letter, maybe not to the bride anymore, because she clearly didn't care about me, but to her mother, because I was actually closer in age to her mother than I was to her. And I decided to send a letter to her mother to say, here's the story. We were dating for this amount of time. We were going to have a baby. He owes me $9,000. I'm only writing to you so that, 1, you know the truth. 2, you can maybe help me to serve him with legal papers because he owes me $9,000. And if you don't, like, your daughter's kind of liable for this. And also, in the correspondence that I've had from your daughter, it's a bit concerning because her English isn't as fluent as one might expect. So I ended up mailing her a letter. I'm a researcher, so I was able to figure out where they work. And I sent her mom a letter that we call the package now. It was like a big, thick thing with, proof of everything in the letter. And I mailed it to her what ended up being 12 hours before my dad died. And I needed to send that letter so that I could get rid of it and then focus on my dad. And then he ends up dying. And he ends up dying in the exact same hospital room that my mom died in 3.5 years earlier. So, like, I'm really broken at this point. But I'm feeling like I can lift any of the stuff with him. Like, it doesn't matter anymore. So I mail the letter. I don't give a return address. I don't give my phone number again. I don't want to hear from them. Yeah. But I also don't hide my email address because I don't want to make it look like I'm hiding anything. So a week after my dad dies, I get a message from the bride. And she says, I got your package in the mail. And you seem to think that we've been speaking, and I have a lot of questions. We spoke on the phone for 2 hours. She didn't know any of it. They had been together for 3.5 years. They had been engaged. He proposed to her on May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, the day that he sent me the picture with his laptop. I couldn't come visit because she was there with his family. She didn't know anything. She did have this weird feeling that something was off though. And so we don't know if it's exact, but we both feel pretty confident that right around the time I was compelled to mail the package, she said to the universe, hey, there's something I need to know here. Give me a sign. Like something feels weird. Just give me a sign. I did most of the talking. She asked a lot of questions, but I did most of the talking, and I was able to pinpoint the exact moment that he went from being a happy-go-lucky groom, so madly in love and carefree, to all of a sudden sick to his stomach, to wanting to go hide in the room, to throwing up, to like just wanting to get out of there. Because it's when I sent the message. She had no idea that he met me the morning after the wedding. He had told her he was sick, sent her off to breakfast with her family. He goes and talks to me. When he said he was going to meet me in Puerto Vallarta, they were actually on their honeymoon. It was him that responded to the Facebook message. She was never pregnant. It was all a lie. Grandparents not dead. All a lie. So, like I said, we talked on the phone for 2 hours.
I have a quick question. How did him and her meet? Do you know that?
I do. They met 3.5 years earlier in Cabo at the resort that he worked at.
And she was on vacation?
She was on vacation.
Wow.
And then they ultimately went back to that resort, and that's where they got married. I now know that he loved Cabo so much because it was connected to her. They actually lived in Cabo together during COVID.
And she was from and living in Canada?
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
So
you were like a replica, but just different.
Well, let me tell you. Okay, so I'm 9 years older than him. He's 9 years older than her. I'm 18 years older than her. How disgusting would that be for her to think? Like, it's disgusting for me to even say. So that's one thing. I'm 5'1", blonde hair. She's 6'1", long, beautiful dark hair. Physically, we could not be any more different. Personality, heart, he picks great women. She and I have become really, really close in this time together, which, I'm really grateful for, because part of the hesitancy in reaching out to her is quite often women stand by their men and they attack the woman that's reaching out. And so I was terrified when she wanted to talk on the phone, but also I needed to know that it was actually her.
Yeah.
And so one of the first things she said to me on that phone call, I believe you. We're both victims here. So anyway, as I said, we talked on the phone for about 2 hours. And we left it that if she needed anything, she could contact me. But I had no intention of ever talking to her again. I had no intention of ever. It was done for me, yeah. Right? And like, again, I didn't care if they broke up. That wasn't my mission. Yeah. She just needed to know the truth. And I should say, after the phone call, she did leave him. So they got married, but there was actually a paperwork issue. And so they weren't able to legally get married in Mexico that day. Okay. So she was thankfully able to get out of it. So when she received the package, she confronted him. He said, he gaslit her, said he didn't know. It was all fake, right? Then she talked to me on the phone. She gave him another opportunity, totally lied about everything again. She blocked him. So the next day, I start getting some like weird emails that at first I thought it was just spam. So I just trashed it. And then I got another one and I recognized the name. So I'm like, what's going on? And it's this account saying, if you don't retract everything you're saying, we're going to make your life a living hell. We know everything about you. We know where you work. We know all these things. And sent a screenshot of my LinkedIn profile. Okay, so I go to my LinkedIn and I'm like, who's viewed my profile? Who do you think's viewed my profile? So I send her a message and I say, hey, I'm getting these weird messages from this name. It's obviously him. She's like, oh my God, I got some messages from that same name. And it's saying that, he's innocent and she really needs to talk to him. That all his friends are worried about him. He's going to kill himself, blah, 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 right? So we start communicating because we're both getting messages. And so what went from no intention of ever speaking again turned into we ended up, being in constant communication because that was just the beginning. He went on a rampage. He lost his mind. He created unlimited fake accounts. So social media, email accounts, phone numbers to harass and blackmail and threaten me, to love bomb and beg her to talk to him, but also accounts in my name to harass and intimidate her and her family. So we were in constant communication, thankfully, especially when I learned, that's the only way I learned, that her family was getting messages from me that clearly I wasn't sending. Things started to escalate. I was getting messages. So at this point, it's April. My dad died April 6th. It's like middle of April. I'm getting constant messages. Early May, I get a horrible message from his mother, telling me that he's killed himself and it's my fault. And she is a mother with nothing to lose. And if I don't retract everything and tell the wife that I made it all up, she has access to all his files and she is going to release my intimate photos and videos. And she's going to make me pay because I have ruined her life, her son's life, all because I'm a desperate old woman. My son would never want you anyway. He was obviously only ever using you for money, you name it. 6 weeks after my dad died, my intimate photos and videos that I had sent to him while he was working on the cruise ship were posted on social media. I was tagged. My employer's social media was tagged. They were sent to my employer. They were posted on porn sites. And it was just a constant harassment. And so 6 weeks after my dad dies, my last living parent. So when my dad died, it brought up all of the grief that I had losing my mom. And then actually a year almost to the day after my mom died, my dog died. And then my dad dies. And then I'm grieving this relationship, this life that I was presented that was going to be a thing. And so I'm really broken. And then intimate photos and videos are out there. I wanted to kill myself. It was so dark. What do you do? How do you stop that? So I ended up taking a leave of absence from work.
What did work say to you?
Well, first of all, I contacted corporate security when I found out that their social media had been tagged. And it's a huge company. And fortunately, I knew the corporate security people because we sat on the same floor. And so I talked to the person who managed that stuff, and he said, "You're right. He did do those things." What happens when our company, and probably all big organizations, when somebody is tagged, it goes into like a vacuum. And so the tag, the post has to be approved. So thankfully, all of the things that he posted just went into this container. But this colleague of mine saw them, knows me, share a elevator, a kitchen. So he's like, he took care of it all. It never actually got posted. But so he was super supportive. My ex made numerous email addresses and was sending them to my employer. So anytime a new email address was, they went in and they like pulled it from anybody's inbox, or like they were on it. They were on it. They were really great. My immediate manager, supervisor, they weren't qualified to deal with this. My leave was approved. Let's just leave it at that. I ended up taking a mental health leave for 6 months. I contemplated killing myself a lot. The threats were endless. I couldn't sleep through the night. It escalated. I would get threats. Things were being sent to work, things that were being sent to my house. People were watching me out of my house, claiming that the cartel were involved. Then I started getting death threats, all while trying to figure out how to navigate a world with no parents, no partner, no kids. It was pretty fucking awful. So I ended up going into hiding just for my own safety for a little while. And what was happening behind the scenes, so that was all happening to me. What was happening at the time with her is that he was reaching out to all of her family members, to her, constantly begging them to get her to speak to him, because after we spoke, she blocked him and she never spoke to him again. Her. Like, she needs to offer a master class in blocking. The cutoff game.
A lot of people, and that's really difficult too. And that's another thing, kind of going back to what we said in the beginning, is it's, even if somebody does something so horrible, it can be very difficult to just cut that off, especially when you've had this idea in your mind of a way that you thought one person was and then who they are to you now. It's like, it can be very hard to just cold turkey be like, fuck you, I'm out.
Totally.
But good for her. Yeah,
totally. I'm so proud of her.
Yeah.
I don't know how she did it. But yeah, so he was just constantly harassing them, essentially, for months and months and months. But what the other thing that he was doing was, like I said, he created a bunch of accounts in my name. He was harassing them, but he was also claiming that he and his family, everything that was being done to me, besides the intimate photos, that was happening to them. So they were getting death threats. They were afraid for their lives. I'm crazy. You name it.
Yeah.
I was doing it all to all of those people. Her birthday is in July. So the death threats were really quite heavy in July. And he decided, so her birthday's at the end of July. He decided in the beginning of July to threaten her life. And so for basically the big lead up to her birthday, she's going to get murdered on her birthday. But that I was behind it. I was hiring somebody to murder her. Like, why would I murder her?
Right.
Why? It made no sense. Yeah. But the wild things that were sent to her to try and scare her and believe that her life was in danger, it was just endless. And then her birthday comes and he sends her a dozen roses, a love letter, and a teddy bear being like, I know we're not together right now, but I'll always be your husband. So it was like these multiple personalities of like love bombing and then terrorizing this woman.
And was he working at this time?
So funny you ask if he was working. There's a bigger story around that, but essentially he ends up getting fired from the cruise.
Okay.
And he blames me first, and then he blames his wife. And I go into bigger detail
on your podcast.
On my podcast. But anyway, no, he wasn't working. So he had nothing but time.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
And rage to
be able to harass you both.
Constantly. At one point, I don't remember the exact numbers anymore, but at one point, I believe there were almost 100, for sure there was 50, maybe there was 100 email addresses, Instagram accounts, TikToks.
So he just kept making them every time you'd block.
Phone numbers, you name it. It was constant. Anyway, so fast forward to about November. So basically, anytime I share any part of this story with anybody, the constant response I get is, oh my God, this should be a Netflix documentary. This is fucking crazy. And I can't believe it happened to you, Allie. Like, you're so normal. Like, it's so crazy that this happened to you. And so I knew that I needed to tell my story. I just didn't know how.
Right.
I was an interior designer for the first 20 years of my career.
Wow.
So I knew how to draw things. I know how to pick a color, but to write a book or create some kind of documentary.
To talk about your personal life?
No idea. And of course, everything that I'm sharing here should be so fucking private and so cringy and so embarrassing, because it is.
Right.
And I get it. Like, it's so easy to judge and think how stupid I am. It's a different thing when you're in it.
Well,
anyway, so
too, like at that point, like you just mentioned, you are in a place where I feel like, or you were in a place at that time where you felt like this story and situation was more embarrassing and shameful than anything else. I think right after something like that happens, it's hard to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, the positivity that you can turn into this. And I don't think anybody, when something happens to you, no one's immediate thought is like, how can I share this? I feel like that takes time to kind of figure out.
Oh, it took time. It took a lot. I had a lot of therapy, a lot. I had a life coach. I was spending a lot of time alone and quiet and in my thoughts. And they were really, really, really dark days. But eventually those dark days got a little bit lighter.
Yep.
And eventually I decided, fuck him. He's not doing this to me. I'm standing up.
He's not
and I'm
take
taking
your
it
life
back.
Away. Yeah.
And so in that journey, I decided that I was going to tell my story on a podcast. I didn't know how to do that, but I did know my story, and I could control it. I could figure this out, and I could just share my story. And the point of sharing my story was to let it go, to help me heal. And it really did.
So how long after everything unfolded, what was the time frame between that and then beginning to really come out and share your story and feel like you were comfortable enough to talk about it publicly?
Okay, so he got married in January.
Okay.
My nudes went out. My dad died in April. My nudes went out mid to end May. I started working on my podcast, thinking about it, what's it going to look like in November. And I made the decision. It had to be done by December 31st, 2023, because I wasn't taking this shit into next year.
Yep.
So
basically kind of like almost a year.
Totally.
Yeah.
A year of hell.
Right.
Like multiple shitstorms happening in that year. It was awful.
Yeah.
But what it did do with all that therapy and all that time and slowing things down is it also allowed me to start to reevaluate other areas of my life that weren't serving me anymore. And so some of that was my job as an interior designer and working for that company. And you saw how I sort of uncomfortably dodged around how I was supported at work. And so I decided it's probably not the right fit for me. So I had to find some kind of meaning for why it was me, this normal, boring person who found herself in this situation. And I decided it had to be me because I was the one strong enough to stand up and stop him. Yeah. It had to be me because this experience was meant to totally change the trajectory of my life. And so I had such a transformation with therapy and a life coach that I decided maybe this all happened so that I could become a coach. Maybe I could start to help other people. Their stories don't have to be anywhere near what mine is, but maybe this might be helpful. So anyway, I released my podcast called Sex, Lies, and Tacos.
Now that makes sense to me.
The tacos, right? Yeah. That name came to me in the middle of the night. I still don't really sleep through the night anymore because of this trauma, but it came to me in the middle of the night. So I released the first part by December 31st, 2022. And I can't say, it certainly was freeing. Like I bawled after and I was like, holy shit, I can't believe I just did this. You should be embarrassed. What if he finds it? All of the things, right? Yeah. But eventually, as people started to hear it, they started to like really rally around me and support me. And then I started sharing more in the story. A really important thing to share is that in December 2022, just before Christmas, he decided to release her intimate photos and videos to social media in accounts that were in my name. And so it wasn't just the need to tell this story for me, but I felt like I needed to do something for her. And ultimately what ended up happening is he did eventually find out about the podcast. He listened to it. And I protect his identity in the podcast, much like I am here. But I make it very clear that if he doesn't stop harassing her and if the pictures don't go away, if all of this doesn't stop, that I'll re-record and I will share his name. I'll share all of it.
So is he still harassing you guys?
That podcast and calling him out stopped it.
Wow. So that ended in, was that 22 or 23?
So that we're in 23 now.
Okay.
So the episode where I call him out, because it took some time, it was like May, right around the Cinco de Mayo date. So his harassment with me started to dwindle December, January, like 2022, 23. And the focus really became on her.
Okay.
Because she had moved on and he was angry and hurt. And so the harassment with her continued on until May. And I truly believe it was me calling him out in that episode to say,
right.
Like the police were involved, for anybody who's wondering too. Like that happens a lot when I share this story. People are screaming at me like, where were the police?
And I also want to mention too, I don't think people realize that can be very difficult as well. Like it's not as easy as like, oh, somebody's harassing me, do something. Like a lot of times they can't really do much.
So you're right. So thankfully the police took this very seriously. Good. There was just so much evidence. But when it comes to like death threats, they can't do anything unless somebody's actually at your door.
Right.
What every single thing he did is so incredibly illegal. Nobody's disputing that. The tricky part is he was in Mexico and we were in Canada.
Okay.
And so they're not, I mean, there's murderers. Yeah. Like they're not, you know?
Right. They're I feel like they're not as pressed when it comes to people getting harassed on social media.
Yeah. But it is very much all of those things.
Yeah.
Like extortion.
Right.
Distribution of intimate photos without consent.
I mean, and also just like overall, you're getting bullied online and that leads people to take their own lives.
100%. Yeah. And like, I think that's the part that's like, it's not just like, that we hear about this happening with kids.
Right.
And a lot of kids, like, they do kill themselves because it's, how do you recover? It's awful. We don't hear about it happening to middle-aged women.
Yeah.
But it happens to anybody and everybody. And for the people saying, why would you send a picture? You're so stupid to send a picture. Tell me that you wouldn't do something with somebody that you thought you trusted. Tell me you wouldn't in a long-distance relationship.
Yeah.
It's easy to say. It's all so easy to say.
It's also a very, I think that's a very taboo subject and one I've never completely understood. I mean, like, granted, yeah, when you're young and you're a child and you're in high school, like, okay, don't send your naked pictures to your high school boyfriends for obvious reasons, you know, but like when you are in an intimate relationship and one, like you said, you trust somebody, to me, that's very normal. Long distance or not, you know, you're having sex and doing stuff in person when you guys are away during the day or for weeks at a time. That's very normal. You know what I mean? So it's like anybody that's saying it's not, shut up. Maybe it's not your cup of tea. Maybe you're very boring. How about that?
How about that? Exactly. How about you shut the fuck up?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, anyway, it ultimately, it's done.
Yeah.
It's done. I share a lot more details in my podcast. It's like 12 episodes or something. Yeah. But I guess the point in sharing all of this is just to say, like, you know, this can happen to anybody. It can happen. You know, mine was like the perfect storm of like ignoring red flags and ignoring my intuition and like trying to be nice and doing all of those things. But at the end of the day, what happened, I didn't deserve. All I was guilty of was trusting somebody, believing that they had the same intentions that I had, and loving the wrong person. All she was guilty of was the exact same things because he approached her in the exact same way. He manipulated her. He charmed her. And yeah, she's 18 years younger than me, but that doesn't take away from his ability.
And that just goes to show too, like even the age difference, it shows that, you know, it doesn't discriminate who this can happen to, like you said.
And, you know, this should probably come as no surprise to anybody, but obviously there were multiple other women.
Right.
And so in releasing my podcast, it's actually brought forward some other women.
I was thinking, like in my head, I was wondering, like I was like, there has to be.
I'm sure there's hundreds. Wow. But there are some.
How many came forward?
Let's just say I was in a group chat with like 4 other women at one point about it.
So, and this was all
overlapping.
That found you from the podcast.
Or I found them.
Right, based on your research.
I'm a researcher. What can I say?
Wow.
Yeah. And, but.
So he's like a serial.
Opportunist, scammer.
Right.
Womanizer.
Was he taking money from all of them?
Well, it's interesting. He took from me the most.
Yeah.
He often paid for things with, she hates it when I call her the wife, but rather than like surname, but he often paid for things for her, but she paid for rent and stuff. So yeah, I think I was the more extreme one.
Okay.
He did, there's at least 2 others that, well, first of all, he met us all in the exact same way.
All from the resort?
Different resorts, and like we're talking like
crazy
independent, educated, strong women.
Yeah. I think too there is something about this what's the word? Not pressure, but when a guy keeps just like trying, it's like, you know, you can know in your head, I'm not interested, but it's like when someone keeps trying, I think that's when you start to question and doubt yourself and your intuition and the red flags. And you're like maybe I should just give this guy a chance. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that a lot of times is something that is very common where you deny because you genuinely aren't interested. But then you're like, wow, this person's really persistent. Maybe for myself and for the experience, I should.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I don't know if this is the case as much anymore, so I can only talk about my experience and my upbringing, but like, we're taught to be nice little girls. Women can't get angry. Women can't be assertive because we're bitches. We're whatever.
Crazy.
We're crazy. And so the last thing I want is to be labeled any of those things because I have a feeling that doesn't feel good for you to hear about. And so, yeah, do I wish that I had never even entered into the conversation? 100%. However, I have had to come to a place of gratitude for it. Because if this shit show hadn't happened, I'd still be living the life that I wasn't feeling fulfilled in. So what ended up happening, like I've changed my career, I'm doing things I never would have even imagined I would do. But the other thing that happened was I ended up getting laid off from my job. And it ended up being January 2024, so a year after, 2 days after my birthday. So it was like I had been hoping and manifesting because I wasn't happy, but I didn't want to quit. But I think for all of this stuff to be happening in January, it was like this container, and it was like it was supposed to happen. It was really fucking awful. But it needed to happen so that I could change my life, do something to help other people, particularly women who, you know, life hits you hard sometimes and you feel like you don't want to do it. You want to give up. And my goal in what I've gone through is to show people that sometimes those things can become the catalyst for your most epic transformation. And so, yeah.
Well, you know, I was going to say too, you took the words out of my mouth, but I was going to say, you know, it led you to this transformative moment in your life. And I think too, you know, just from how you were describing yourself prior to all of this, even though, you know, you were this independent woman, I think even after this happening, how you were saying you had this shame and embarrassment and guilt and everything, I think that by having this happen, going through all the hell of it, and then coming out and deciding to speak publicly and then help others, it almost forced you to find your voice, you know, and it also at one point forced you into this isolation, which obviously is very lonely and very sad. But I also think the biggest transformations happen within yourself when you're alone. So, you know, all of obviously that situation with him was a nightmare, was horrible, should never happen to anybody. I think it put you and led you on this path that you probably needed one way or another, maybe not from that, but, you know, it forced you into this, like, almost like self-reflection and self-transformation. And it, like you said, it made you start doing things you never would have imagined. But I almost feel like it's so empowering because it makes you realize how resilient and strong you are, like in ways that you probably didn't even imagine.
Idea.
And you become that strength and that voice for other women because, you know, whether it's a woman that already went through something like this or one that hears your story and then maybe goes through something years later and is like, oh, I remember hearing a story like this, or I remember somebody that went through something, you know, just like me or worse than me. And if she could get through it, well, I can get through it, you know, or it encourages other people to use their voice too and to use their story.
And that's the whole point, right? Yeah. And I have to say, you know, like losing my parents was hard enough.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't think I would have taken the time out of my life, taken a mental health leave just because my parents died.
Right.
That's weak, right? Obviously, that's ridiculous. And I would never think that of anybody else. But I think maybe this just had to happen in order to force me. And yeah, it's in that self-reflection that everything got so loud for me to say, hey, you're not happy here, 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 and here. Now's the time.
Yeah.
You're already at your lowest point.
Right, because I think you faced a moment in your life when you had the decision to end it all or change it all.
Yeah.
And thankfully, amazingly
Here we
enough.
are.
Yes, here we
Here
are.
we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was 2023. So it's just over 2 years ago that this was all unfolding.
So with your podcast, that's fully released. Do you do
Yes.
anything else with it?
Yes. So, season 1 is just my story.
Got it.
And it's long and it's cringy and
Detailed.
very detailed. And the plan had been that season 2 would be the wife's version. That's changed. Not everybody heals the same way. Not everybody wants to put energy into that. So a lot of people want that side of things. So maybe if we can make this happen on Netflix, that would happen. But I've had a lot of people reach out to me, though, that have heard my story in a variety of different ways. And so I've decided to start a season 2, and I start sharing other people's stories. So right now I just have one person's story whose name happens to also be Allie. But the plan is to provide a safe platform for people to share their story. It doesn't have to be the exact same as mine. It can be, much like what you're doing. It's just offering a space for people to feel heard, feel seen, feel supported. Because these situations are super lonely. And maybe if people start talking about things a bit more, there'll be less judgment around it. And maybe you don't ever find yourself in a situation like mine. But maybe somebody in your life somewhere has a piece of my story. Maybe in hearing my story, you know now how to show up for them. Maybe instead of criticizing them for making these stupid decisions, maybe you ask how you can support them.
Yeah.
Because everybody's so quick to victim blame and shame. It's not what we need.
No. And I judgment it's a funny thing because I think, like you said, people are so quick to do it and they don't ever actually take a second to think, like, what if I was in that situation? And I don't even think by thinking that way, you can actually know, unless you're in it, what you would do. And not only that, but I think too, your story serves as like this way to maybe not to cause people to have this wall or this guard up, but to maybe just have those thoughts in the back of your mind of like, let me be prepared. Because I mean, I really hate to say it. There are good women and men out there. They're harder to find. But manipulators and narcissists and these calculated people that want to hurt people and want to solely for their own benefit, they are out there. And I think that it should be discussed. And there's a way to like have your heart open, but also to protect yourself in a way.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because not, like you said, not everybody has the same heart as you. No. Unfortunately.
No. And I have to say, like the most common piece of feedback I get is I was yelling at my device, listening, like yelling at you. Why are you ignoring this? I was mad at you. I was thinking you're an idiot. But by the end, I saw myself in you. And I feel so bad for you. And I'm so fucking proud of you because you chose yourself and you stood up. And so, yeah, again, that's just the whole point is I think that nobody's life is perfect.
No.
And it's always easy to think that we know better than others. But anyway, my new life mission is to help people get through their darkest moments and come out the other side, Yeah. My coaching is focused on resilience and reinvention. Yeah.
Well, and I'll definitely, like I said, I'll definitely link all of that so that if people wanted to use you for like any coaching and stuff, is it just a link that people can?
Yeah. So what I'll give you is like my website and my Instagram, and then
perfect, and people can just reach out to you.
Yeah, and even and the podcast thing, but even on the podcast notes, it says how to get a hold of me. Okay. But hopefully you can weave this all together so that it makes sense.
Yeah, you did amazing. It was so.
Thanks. I'm so fucking sweaty.
Are you?
You know what it's like. No, it's emotion. It's emotion.
You did amazing though, and I like I followed along perfect. Nothing was confusing. Nothing felt. That's why I like to go into things blindly, because I'm like, I know if I can follow along and hear it, yes, others can. You did amazing.